Hi folks, Donnie here again. This video was actually not intended to be a public video. It was actually a comparison video for some of my ham radio colleagues around some of the search and rescue applications, tracking applications we were looking at. So they were able to skip to a slightly later part in the video, but just to give some background, I thought I'll just publish this video anyway. It could be of general interest. So there's various search and rescue organizations around the world that are making use, or often using anyway, the APRS system, the automatic packet reporting system, which is used by not only ham operators but various other people to also publish location data to a map, which can be then used by these applications to view it and to overlay other useful information for search and rescue and for other purposes. So those that are obviously going to be broadcasting on ham radio frequencies and who's not using the internet or telephone, GSM phone, will have to be licensed radio amateurs for those frequencies. But so generally for search and rescue, it's often used in an offline mode out in the field where you would be making exclusive use of radio, cached mapping, that sort of thing, without any internet connectivity. So SARTrack, the SAR part of it is search and rescue. I've got this one in ham operator mode at the moment. There's a full search and rescue mode which offers additional information for managing people, teams, equipment, capabilities, a lot of other interesting information. But what I wanted to show you was that this tool can be incredibly complex. You can delve into an incredible amount of detail, but you can also use it at a very superficial and a very simplistic level. So often for racing events or public events that the Hamnet guys are managing, we may often just want to see a route with a number of points, as you'll see here on the top right over there. I'll zoom in there just now and show you. But we'll overlay certain information like that, and we'll have a bunch of trackers in the field or radios reporting in locations from things like ambulances, rover vehicles, that sort of thing. And we want a very simplistic view often of what's going on. We don't want the full complexity and clutter that you're going to see, but it is important to be able to zoom in and out and clearly see what's going on and maybe change map backgrounds and so on. So SARTrack itself is a Windows-only application. There are one or two others we were also considering that are running on Linux, Mac, and other things. So, that's obviously not a great plus for us. The products are all free to use, so there isn't a cost aspect to it. At the moment, you can see on the top left, I'm in online mode here. And you'll see it's got a number of options for different ways of connecting to different services, right down to even plain raw GPSs, specific types of radio. Obviously with these you can also send and receive APRS messaging, which we're not generally using at the moment, but what we'd like to start using. Then also things like Direwolf. Direwolf is a sort of a modem translation package. It will listen to a sound port and receives literally audio sound from a radio, and it will translate it into data, and then SARTracker can then talk to Direwolf and receive the data. So it's typically something like that we use. TNC is also a modem map. APRS server is the connectivity to the internet site. So I can also, if there is internet connectivity, we can receive more broadly stations and objects that are transmitting from outside. Then just to show you here, there are some settings. So what's interesting on the Direwolf setting here, this Direwolf application is not running on my Windows VM at the moment. It's actually running on a Raspberry Pi elsewhere on my local area network. So just to show the flexibility, it can run on the same, typically we'll use it on the same machine. But if you go to setup, you'll see there I've put a local IP address in. So I've just pointed it to the Raspberry Pi and it connects as simply as that. Literally everything is just switched on and it connects. There's nothing complicated about it. The APRS server, the same. You can choose different servers, or you can say to it automatic. These are the servers where the APRS information is actually published. And I've also limited it to a 50-kilometer radius from my location. I don't want to pick up all sorts of other data and things. There is another interesting thing in here. Is also a much more advanced filter where you can use rule-based filtering. So you could set, if you just wanted to pick up 8 trackers and that's it, nothing else, you could manually put in those 8 trackers address IDs or call signs in here. That's all you're going to receive. It'll ignore everything else and won't show you on the map. So again, very flexible. Then I just want to show you then also the zoom function. The older package that we have been using, UI View, problem is it's a very old Windows application. The amateur radio guy that produced it has died already. It's not being updated anymore. That is a concern. And it only uses static maps. So in its case, you've got to load your map. You've got to say what the top left coordinate is, the bottom right coordinate, and it fixes it that way. You can't really zoom in and out of that map, and you can switch between 2 or 3 different views, but it's not very flexible versus, say, something like this. So what I've done on SARTrack was I've imported from the GPS, I imported the route. There were 2 routes for this particular race we were managing, as well as all the waypoints. And I've added 1 or 2 of the watering points as well. There were actually more watering points, but just for the sake of illustrating. That is the zoomed out view now of the whole entire course. The red here is also showing the shorter course. The nice thing though is if you need to zoom in quickly here, you can just zoom in and the detail appears at whatever sort of level you want to view it. So that is actually quite a lot more flexible than a plain only a zoomed out and only a zoomed in view. This is a very much easier way of actually controlling what you're seeing. I've also mapped a few repeaters in and so on. You can see here the objects. If you hover over them, there's a bit of information. I could also show you for vehicles. I don't know if there's any vehicles moving at the moment. I think, is that a vehicle? Can't see at the moment. Oh, there's a vehicle, but he's actually stopped already. You'll see there is things like you can check if there's a speed and a course. I've indicated there the timeout value on the display. You can switch that off. You can even include a speed. You can decide how much and how little you want to display. Also on this call sign, you'll see I've used what they call a tactical call sign. I've changed the raw call sign and I've given it a R1 for, like, say, Rover 1. If you were doing operations, you don't want to see the long call signs. You want to see just the shortened ones. And I'll show you now as I go into an object. If we take an object, or we can actually maybe take that one by way of example. If you right click and you go to edit, there is the radio call sign, but there is the tactical call sign that I'd completed myself, and I could have made it anything I wanted to. M1, M2, R3, whatever is going to make sense to you for when you need to look at the map. You can also look. I'm actually not going to do it on the stations. I want to do it on objects maybe, because I'll show you how to add an object here as well. If you zoom all the way in, we had an op center down here. So to add an op center is as easy as just standing there, right clicking and saying create an object. I'm going to give it an automatic object name that the system will keep track of, but I'll call it something else, joint op center, for example, JOC. You can give it a comment. You can give any particular details here if you needed to just give a bit of additional information. And then you'll just choose whatever you want to use to indicate as an icon. I'll just say it, just use the node one. It's already put the location in. An interesting feature here is broadcast. So what happens is if you are connected to the internet, you can also broadcast it out to public APRS. In this case, I'm not going to do it for this one, but I did do it for the repeaters that appear on this map, and I've made them also permanent. The reason being they stay in the same place, they're always there, and it's of interest maybe to for others to see where those repeaters are. But I could just as well have published or broadcast the Joint Operations Center. It would mean anybody not using SARTrack, anybody at home with just general APRS, any member of the public, you could go to aprs.fi, that's the website, and if you zoomed in and out, you'd actually also be able to see this center if I'd said to it, broadcast its location. But it shows how quick and easy it is just to put it on. And then, yeah, okay, that was the adding. I just wanted to then go also and show what is interesting with SARTrack is it's got some very, very detailed logging of events. So if you needed to play back after your operation what had actually happened, you could just go to replay over here. It's going to suspend the live data while I'm looking at this, and I'm going to open the last file, which will be this one today, and I can say to it play. There on the right it's showing you the date and time now of what was being recorded. I could zoom out, and if there are some vehicles, so we're now at 12, it's about 3-4 hours ago now. If you move down here, you could be able to see that vehicle's not moving. I think this truck, let me just check. Yes, he's doing about 3.7 k's an hour. And at any time you could just pause it or stop it or whatever you wanted to do. But this will be the playback, so you can play back your whole operation as well, and go and have a look at a particular point in time and see what vehicles were where and what had been going on. So let me just stop that, and I'm going to go back to live. This is actually an interesting lesson I've just learned now. It seems to me that because I loaded those tracks and those points and I didn't make them permanent, for some reason when you've gone and done your replay and you suspended and you've come back, it throws them away. So you do need to mark them. You'll see, for example, these repeaters I had marked as permanent, so they're still there, no problem. But okay, not a problem. I'll just have to do the rest of the demo without the points. I have actually already shown the points and what they do, so let's not worry about that right now. What I just wanted to show on the zoom levels were, though, if you zoom right in over here down to say street level, it does cache. It caches these maps at the moment from, I'm using OpenStreetMaps mapping, and it also caches from ArcGIS, not from Google Maps. But with those two at least, anything that you zoom in and out of here, you can go up to map type and you can change. I'm using the cycle type, which it's got terrain markings as well as streets and road. But you could have gone to, say, ArcGIS World Satellite if you wanted to. It would cache this as well. It basically caches it at the level of zoom and where you're located. So if you wanted to cache it beforehand, you'd want to zoom in a bit, move around that track, and then go offline. You can see we're still online here at the moment. What I just wanted to show you was if I go in closely here, for example, say to the race course, we're now quite closely in. I can go out, and I'll come back to that one in a minute. If I just go up here to, where was, let me just have a look. This is Ork Road. Now without the route it's a bit difficult to see where I am actually. Let's just say over there, I'm going to go down to just sort of that height, because I want to show you what happens when you zoom in. You see you can't see the street names at the moment. I'm going to go offline on the top left over there. So I'm in offline mode at the moment now. You'll see we can still zoom in and out, but if I zoom in over here now, it's only going to zoom in at that level that it last downloaded the maps. So you can see no street names are appearing at the moment. If I zoomed in further, street names would also have appeared and it would have cached and remembered it locally on my machine. But let's go back now. I'll go back to the race course and we can just zoom in over there. If I can find it, there we go. If I zoom in over here, it should have cached the data, and now you'll see there is still the street name detail as well, and you can go right down over there. So the caching is all automatic. There's no having to, as long as you've cached your mapping and stuff beforehand and viewed what you want to see along the route and everything else down to the levels you want to see, it's all automatically cached. There's nothing else to worry about. You can actually get to that data, I think it is, yeah, you can have a look and you can see this is the OSM street map view. If you go, I was in cycle terrain, and there's the different levels of zoom that it's actually cached the maps at already. If you can actually go right down, okay, it hasn't cached those yet. I just want to see what level I've got. You can actually view the map tiles themselves to see Can't seem to find them now. Did I have the right one? Well, that's what happens when you just go around blindly seeing if you can see them. But anyway, you can actually see the actual images of each map tile there. The other thing I wanted to show was just, let me just take it back online again. On the debug information over here, you can also see the raw APRS data as it's received from the antenna. That's coming in through my direwolf at the moment. So I'm receiving that live through the I've actually got I'm not using a radio, I'm using a software-defined radio, SDR dongle at the moment attached to my Raspberry Pi, but you can check and make sure the data is coming in fine without any problems over there. So that's another useful thing, just to see if there's anything wrong and everything's operating fine. The other thing we can just have a look at quickly is on the stations. These are the various call sign stations that are moving or static. For example, there's a car. That, as I said, is where you'd put in the tactical ID if you were going to just allocate it. It'll be as simple as that. That is where you can say, show the tracking on the map. In other words, the tail, you've got speed and altitude, coordinates. You can decide how much information is actually displayed. You've got a very simple filter in this view. So this filter view, you're just going to say maybe ZS1 DK I want to see. And it'll filter as simply as that. But if you want the more complicated one, like I said, with the specified call signs, say 10 or 15 or 20 of them, you'd use that other view here on APRS server and to set that up. But this is a quick and easy, simple. And if you want to go find the vehicle, you just say there, show, and it'll jump to it on the map and show you where the vehicle is at the moment. You've also got, obviously now I haven't got, let me just open it up again. You can sort by, first heard, last heard, how many minutes ago, location, speed, standing still or moving, by the tactical call signs. There's various ways to do this. The object view, this was now where I would have had all the points, the watering points, and that JOC that I'd entered and so on. Same thing here, you can sort by name, tactical name, status, latitude, last changed, etc. And there's also some simplistic filtering over there. This is also the point where you'd import the tracks and the waypoints from the GPS. So if I can just remember now where it was. Let me just have a look. Quick access. I can't remember which one. I think it was that one maybe. And I'd say, well, I don't want, there's a track. I don't want all the waypoints to come in. I just want some of the waypoints. So I will say that one, that one, that one, that one. And let's just do a couple more. I can show you how easy it is to import. Okay, it's not going to be the entire route, but you can say what sort of, I want to make them just quite small, just little red dots at the points so that it's not too big. I'm going to make the track, I'll just make it a bike track, and I'll just check the date is right, yes, and then start. And that's it, there they are, they're in. Obviously I would clean these up because this is too long at the moment on the map. It's going to clutter the map too much. I did change these earlier on to just 10, 13, 23, 12. But for the sake of now, you'll see if I zoom out. Okay, obviously those are very long tags at the moment, but there they are, tracks back in again. I added the water points custom, so they're not in at the moment. And that's really about it for the simple view. I can just quickly go show what the settings look like as well. You set up your station ID and so on here with its icon, whether it is, you can add if it's a weather station and a link to the data and so on. SARTrack can also be used to transmit data and to be used sort of as a digipeater type functionality as well. There's a couple of basic, you'll see I'm in basic ham APRS mode, not SAR mode. SAR mode connects to a database online where it shares data to other laptops or computers that are networked. So each person can fulfill a specialized role. One may just be doing the logging, the other one may just be doing APRS messaging, another one may just be doing viewing, and they can all operate together on a network, even out in the field with no internet. So very, very useful for operations. You can set various timeouts. That's just to indicate then whether it is like you see at the moment there. Is it an active object? Is it inactive? Is it timed out? There's some basic map settings here as well that you can set. You can also load local maps as well if you want to, and you'd have to then obviously pin them with the anchor points and so on, just like UI view. But the caching one is a nicer way to work, I think. You've got setup for the connections as well. You can enable local APRS server, and you can send objects over radio as well if you're going to transmit back out to radio. The other view we've got here is just the tools view. Nothing very basic. You can password protect your setup, and you can quickly access things like local map directories and so on from here as well. I think it's pretty configurable. And yeah, as I said, on the simple view, pretty easy to use. I think it's very handy for field operations. And like I said, you can, if you go into search and rescue mode, you can go incredibly lot more detailed as well. For example, the other features it's got is dead reckoning around a probability circle where you're going to be doing search operations. Now, say for example, it was, I don't know, what would you say? A walking wounded or something, I don't know. You could estimate a speed and it would actually expand the circle over time to show the search area as it's increasing. So there's a lot of detailed functionality you can still do. It'll also track each and every single APRS message to and from each different station. So when you play back, you haven't only got the log of the movement of all the vehicles and the different trackers and so on in the vicinity. You'll also be able to have a track of each and every single message, and there is like a chronological timeline view where you can see all the events unfolding. You can literally wind into a sort of a 2 or 3 minute period and go and see what actually happened in that particular period. So it will also show you the trace of a search area that you're covering, so that you can make sure that you've covered everything you need to cover. You know, you can obviously then see if there's a blank area somewhere that you haven't covered. So yeah, I think that's about it at the moment for SARTrack without going into more detail. I've only been busy a day or two with it myself, so lots for me to learn still, and I'll be looking at another product, and I might do a video on that as well, just a brief video of what its capabilities are, maybe tomorrow or the next day. But anyway, that's it. Great, thanks very much and enjoy your day.